Hey everybody, welcome to BrickVault. My name's Jack. Today we are reviewing a LEGO Justice League set. This is the Flying Fox Batmobile Airlift Attack. This set is recommended for ages 9 to 14. It is set number 76087 and it has 955 pieces. Included are 6 minifigs, that is 2 Parademons, Batman, Superman, Cyborg, Wonder Woman, and Steppenwolf. The featured build of the set is a very large airlifting vehicle and it can hold the actual Batmobile on the inside. This set was live streamed, so if you want to learn more about our live streaming schedule, you can check the description below. And here's a little bit of the time lapse and we'll get right into the review. Alright, so with this gigantic build of the Flying Fox ship complete, I think I'm actually going to take a look at the minifigs first. Now, we get a pretty good spattering of the Justice League members, and of the 4 main characters here, just 2 of them are actually exclusive to this set. Let's take a look at Batman first, and here is a pretty sweet redesign of his armor. I think this is the first version of a Batman fig that has black legs and a gray torso, and quite a bit of his armor is printed with the reflective silver. I think that is pretty sweet that the yellow highlights are no longer yellow but gold and also match up with the reflective printing, and ultimately it's a look that works pretty well for the character. The second best thing about this guy is that his face has got a new print and there is stubble there. This works well for the Batman character, not just because it's part of the movie, but I think also it matches Batman himself. There's some sort of gunmetal printing that goes along the forehead. That's the proliferating color that comes through the cowl, and gotta say this is probably one of the better Batman figs that we're going to be adding to the collection. Now, the second exclusive minifig for the set here is Cyborg, and he has a really unique mold for the arm. This is something that is pretty uncommon that we see with the minifig here, but you can see the mold of his arm matches just right with another stud gun. Also the first time this stud gun piece has been molded in this particular type of flat silver, and really kind of hits home for this Cyborg character that can kind of transform his arm into a weapon. The mold for his head has got some different print details, and we have a great geometric metallic pattern that goes all along the body. For just 2 exclusive figs, I think the prints are very nice, and I'm glad that these guys are totally redesigned instead of just, you know, minor differences that we sometimes see in more expensive sets. Now, Superman is the same from what we got last year in the Batman vs. Superman sets, so that means his body is molded in a nice dark blue. He's got a soft cloth cape and some decent printing for the torso, but none on his legs. Wonder Woman is the same in terms of the same Wonder Woman that we got also from Batman vs. Superman sets, and I'm never gonna not like this minifig. She's highly detailed, has a wonderful print for the shield, and a very appropriate hairpiece. Now for the other 2 minifigs, we've got some Parademons. This one here is a yellow and blue one. The print here shows something similar to like maybe an exoskeleton. Looks like a weird combination between some sort of a utility suit or maybe just the natural weird armor that you would find on a Parademon. I'm liking the piece that makes up the wings with some subtle little prints that show the sort of insectoid type detailing on the wings, but I hope they figure out a way to attach them without having this weird little plate in the back just kind of sticking out. It's in a neutral color, but still I don't think it looks that good. This next Parademon looks like the exact same type of print, or at least the same design of print, just of course the colors have changed up quite a bit. He's dark green and just regular green, and the real difference for him is really the print for the face. There's a different expression there, and this guy kind of creeps me out a little bit more. I'm not entirely sure why. Also, the molds for the wings is a little bit different. They're kind of folded down. Maybe not smaller wings necessarily, but they could just be in sort of a different shape because they're flapping. They both come with stud guns, which once again don't really look that good on minifigs, but I guess it's not that bad, especially when you're taking a look at Steppenwolf. He's an interesting looking character. I don't really know what he looks like from the movie yet because it is not out as of the time I'm reviewing this, but he sort of falls victim to what a lot of the buildable figs look like from the Marvel or DC universe. Just like Groot had a great mold that made up the head and chest, Steppenwolf has an awesome piece that makes up his head and a pretty good print and mold for the chest as well. Everything else though doesn't really fit. I have no idea if his proportions look that good, but he does feel a little bit wonky. His arms are very, very long, and there's just not enough detail to really show off a very recognizable character, at least in terms of the body. For sure, the best part of this guy is, of course, the mold for the head and the printing that goes on it, but it all just kind of sticks out like a sore thumb compared to the rest of the character. By the way, I forgot to mention, he does come with this pretty good build for an axe. It's actually very good, not entirely a saving grace for the figure in total, but you can appreciate this fun little build for the axe blade at the top. All right, so those are the minifigs. Really happy with the exclusives, but now let's take a look at the featured part of the build. This is the Flying Fox. One thing I wasn't really expecting, because I couldn't really tell from the pictures on the box, was this whole build to be so open. It's very reminiscent of something like maybe a manta ray or a whale shark or something, like a big sea creature that has a wide open mouth. And I just thought that the bay of the ship was going to be able to open and close either in the front or in the back or both, but as you can see, it's just completely open. Now, if you think this affects the Batmobile in terms of how well it stays inside the ship, I'll just demonstrate very quickly for you that the Batmobile does indeed have no problem staying on the inside of this ship. There's a couple of little rubber tabs at the top that kind of keep this thing in place, and we have a few rotatable little Technic pins at the bottom that kind of just add extra reinforcement. Batmobile goes absolutely nowhere, not even a wobble when you shake. But anyways, back to the Flying Fox. I'll show the Batmobile off a little later. The detailing that make up this ship is actually pretty cool. I know with so many big, wonderful, colorful sets all coming out at around the same time as this, it may not look quite as interesting or unique being totally black, but you know what, it is Batman and that's sort of his style. Ultimately, I think the shape of the ship works pretty well. I don't honestly know what the proportions of this vehicle are from the movie, because once again, it hasn't come out yet, but the proportions seem believable and certainly not awkward. We've got some builds for what look like little turrets or guns in the very front, also some other intakes. This is kind of weird. It says Wayne Technology on the side. I didn't realize Batman was now known to the world as being Batman. Wayne Technology feels like somewhat of a dead giveaway. Underneath the wings, we've got single spring-loaded shots, and on the very top there are also some stud guns. The play features here are relatively minimal, and they're certainly integrated into the build of the ship pretty well. They don't really stick out. Now, for the rest of the detailing on the ship, you can see lots of these black shield pieces used as some sort of armor plating. I'm going to assume that kind of just break up the look of all these studs along the ship. Also, you can see different grate pieces. The wings have some detailing that looks like they would be fans or something like that, some extra jets that push up from the bottom of the wings. And I think probably some of the best shaping that we have for the whole ship is the integration of this larger cockpit at the very top. Something tells me within the universe of the actual ship from the movie, this is going to be a much larger area where maybe several people can do controlling from the inside, but right now there is just enough space to comfortably fit two figs facing away from each other. It looks pretty cool, especially in the color red, and I like the general shape for the slope pieces that sort of encapsulate the entire console. The back of the ship is pretty basic. I do like the giant fins, the large ones on top and the slightly smaller ones in the back, and here some simple wheel pieces have been used to show the jet thrusters in the back. All in all, this build doesn't look very complicated, and that's because it isn't. It is almost completely Technic through and through on the inside, so the whole thing is extremely solid. If you were to drop it, I'm sure the wings would break off and maybe some of the smaller extremities, but for the most part, this thing is built like a tank. Do not be intimidated by the size of this thing. It is absolutely a swooshable ship. Now let's move on down to the Batmobile. It is almost the same type of build, or it's almost the same build actually from the Batman vs Superman set that we got last year. When you compare them side by side, you can see they're almost, yeah, they really are very similar. The back has a slightly different build, and of course the main thing you're noticing is that half of the pilot seat, half of the cockpit, has been now turned into a giant cannon. Once again, there's another stud gun integrated into the build at the top there. It looks great. Still think the stud guns in the front don't look good, just like from the original build. I liked the original build. I also like this one maybe a little bit more because the gun does make this thing look a little bit more sort of intimidating and beefy. Now, there it is, sort of my thoughts on the vehicles. There is actually one other thing that was included in the set, and it is this. It's the mother box, and basically from what I understand, it is supposed to be a sort of sentient supercomputer that has like wondrous mystical powers. And undoubtedly this piece is going to be the main focus point for the next movie. I will say that this is not a sticker piece that is actually printed, which is nice. And well, now we're looking at the entire set together. Now ultimately I think the look of the Flying Fox is actually not too bad. I do appreciate that it has this sort of organic sort of sea creature kind of look to it, and ultimately the shapes of this thing are pretty proportional. It's swooshable and it holds onto the Batmobile very, very well. The weapon options are fine, about as much as you would expect to get for a ship this size with the 2 spring-loaded shots and the stud shooters on top. And I think the build for the Batmobile, though very similar, is still an improvement from the last one. Not a fan of the Steppenwolf build. I really think LEGO needs to sort of change up their approach to doing larger brick-built figs for both Marvel and DC, because right now what we're getting here I don't think really works that well. The 2 exclusive figs for this set are really awesome, and the fact that we get 6 minifigs is actually pretty cool. Now for the amount of pieces that we get in this set and sort of the monotony of color, I would say that it's priced a bit high, and especially during this season there are other sets that I think would be a bit more compelling than this one. So if you're a die-hard DC or Justice League fan, I do think this set will be a good set for you. But if you're partial to Batman or the DC Cinematic Universe, there are definitely some really cool sets coming out at around the same time as now, and you should probably weigh your options. Alright, that is it for this episode, everybody. Thanks a lot for watching. If you enjoy our content, you can always like or subscribe and check out the description below if you want to learn more about this set or our channel. Alright, that's it again. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you next time at BrickVault.